So hopefully we're back now. I apologize having some technical difficulties. I know I'm supposed to have some weather coming in here soon. I don't think it's here yet, but boy, my streaming software is really acting up. Here, more average than fast, sure, but it's pretty difficult to narrow down a speed. So we're just going to be looking at both of them, as I don't know whether these are going to play fast or whether these are going to play average in terms of speed. Give me a second here as I hopefully am having these issues resolved. So we're going to look at bent greens that are average or fast in speed the past 2 years. Our top putters on average or fast bent greens have been Mav McNeely, Saying You'll Know, Taylor Montgomery, Justin Lauer, Richie Wierenski, Harry Hall, Chesson Hadley, Mark Hubbard, David Skins, and Sung Jae. Those are your top putters on average and fast bent greens the past couple of years. All right. With that, we looked at some off the tee. We looked at the approach. We're going to clear these filters and get set for driving and greens and fairways and whatnot. We'll take a look at last year's leaderboard. You see distance played a decent little factor. Only 2 players negative in terms of distance. Fairways not so much. The highest here I see is like a 7.9, 6.9. But even here at the very top of the leaderboard, Jason Day only slightly gained in fairways. Siwoo Kim was fairly, pretty good, but nothing extraordinary. Same with Terrell Hatton. If we sort on this, look at the distance. Top 15, top 15, top 10, top 20, top 10, top 25. Pretty darn good here for distance. A couple of miscuts, sure, but fairly solid. Fairways, not so much. You have a miscut pretty darn high. A couple of, top or, middling to maybe even poor finishes, depending on your definition. A really bad finish from Lucas Glover. Fairways aren't it. These fairways are extremely wide. They're forgiving. Let's take a look at greens. Greens could be something because these greens, even though they are easy to hit, they are pretty big. So instead of maybe greens, it might be proximity. But there was something to be gained for these greens. A top 20, a top 15, a top 5, a top 10, top 5. Our winner was somewhat high in the greens. So I'm looking at maybe distance, maybe greens, but not a lot in either of them. Or not a lot in the greens per se. Maybe a little bit in the distance. Maybe a little bit. If we look at 2022 and look at the fairways and the greens, now K.H. Lee is never, he's not long by any means. He's about field average, and he was the second year that he won. A lot less in terms of distance in 2022. If we look at the top 16, about half were negative in distance. If we sort, not a lot of correlation at all. It was pretty darn strong last year, but not 2 years ago. If we look at greens, you got some cut making and some decent correlation, but nothing elite. Third, top 20, top 15, top 20, top 5, surrounded by some poor and middling finishes. So I don't know. I would think distance might play a small factor. Greens might play a small factor. I'm not confident in either one of those, but it would be these 2 metrics in this page view. So if we're going to look at distance, again, we're going to look at scoring easy relative to par. When a course is easy, who just hits it the furthest, who bombs it, gives themselves the best chance or gets themselves closest to the hole off the tee. So in the past 2 years, when rounds have been easy relative to par, our top Driving distance players have been Cam Champ, Peter Quest, Ben On, Chris Goddard, Vincent Norman, Garrick Higo, Callum Tarrant, Ryan Brim, MJ Duffy, and Paul Barjon. We can look at greens when it's easy. We'll take a look at greens and on long courses as well. So when rounds are easy relative to par, our top greens gained players: Alex Noren, Russell Knox, Kevin Tway, Adam Schenk, Peter Quest, Aaron Rye, Bo Hostler, Bryce Garnett, Joel Damon, and Taylor Pendrith. Take a quick snapshot of these 10 and we'll move to the long course and see if anyone overlaps. But again, I don't see a whole lot of emphasis in here. Maybe a 5% in the final mixed condition model, if I had to guess. But even then, I'm not terribly confident in that. So on long courses, our top greens gained players. Come on, Fantasy National. It's trying. Top greens gained players on long courses: Joseph Bramlett, Mark Hubbard, Kevin Yu, Martin Laird, Heinrich Norlander, Bryce Garnett, Rico Hoey, Lonto Griffin, Nick Hardy, Matty Schmidt, and Sam Stevens. So I don't recognize any of those 10 names from greens when it's easy, overlapping with the greens when it is on long courses. So not entirely sure that is the way I want to go about it. All right, let's remove all these filters. We're going to go to scoring next. And pretty easy, pretty simple for scoring at TPC Craig Ranch. You got to go low. Jason Day, his win last year was the lowest or worst winning score at minus 23. KH Lee got to 26 and 25 his first 2 years. You just got to go low. Got to go low to contend here. A few Eagles around as well. You see CT Pan. They're not mandatory. You see Day, Siwoo, Austin Eckroat. They didn't get a lot of Eagles throughout the week, but still, won and finished T second. It's just a lot of birdies. J-Day, Austin Eckroat, Marty Doe, Adam Scott. Look at this elite correlation here, all the way down to Seamus Power. First, second, fifth, 8th, 11th, 8th, top 20, second, top 20. Just lots and lots and lots of birdies. Bogey avoidance is something too, but not to the level of the birdies gained. You got to be able to go low here. Same for 2022. Few Eagles from KH Lee, but 2nd, 8th, 15th, 12th, 3rd, 5th, 5th, 17th, 1st, 5th. Just a lot of birdies. Lots and lots of birdies. You can see the bogeys fairly strong, but you have a 51st in here, a couple of 51st, a 32nd, 38th. Not nearly as correlating. So, let me get this set for the proximity. Very, very simple. Very simple. We're going to look at two different things here. We're going to look at opportunities gained. We're going to look at birdies or better gained. Both with this easy relative to par filter. So in the past 2 years, in rounds that have been easy relative to par, our top opportunities gained players have been Alex Smalley, Tom Hoagie, Joel Damon, Carson Young, Sung Jae, Kevin Yu, Ryan Palmer, Ben On, Daniel Berger, Tyson Alexander, and Adam Schenk. Definitely want to put a star next to Sung Jae and Adam Schenk, as they are top 10 in both opportunities and birdies or better gained when rounds have been easy. Honorable mention to Tom Hoagie, 2nd in opportunities, 14th in birdies or better. But if we look at strictly just birdies or better gained, Peter Quest, Garrick Higo, Chan Kim, Adam Schenk, Jordan Spieth, Sung Jae, Taylor Montgomery, Luke List, Michael Kim, and Scott Piercy. There's your top 10 in terms of birdies or better gained. So everything in the scoring page view at Fantasy National is going to revolve around the easy relative to par filter. It's going to be about birdies or better. It's going to be about opportunities. You can afford a bogey or two around here because a few of them will crop up, but you've got to be able to take advantage, especially of the par fives. Half a shot under par, half a shot under par, almost a half a shot under par, and the very short par fours. 4/10 under par, 3/10 under par. You just got to take advantage of those holes. So we're going to move now to proximity. So let me get that set, remove all the filters, and just look at 2024. Now, last night we saw in the course breakdown how 35% of the approach shots at TPC Craig Ranch come from 200 plus. This is a combination of all of the par 5s being attackable in 2 plus the bevy of long par 4s that are here at TPC Craig Ranch. So 35% of the approach shots come here from 200 plus. So let's see how much it actually led to upper leaderboard success. We look at last year and Jason Day, pretty solid from 200 plus, to be honest. Pretty darn solid. J-Day was good. Siwoo, Austin Eckroat was elite that week in that range. Total Prox looks like it could be something as well. But, really only about 2 to 3 players that are really bad from 200 plus that were up there in terms of an upper leaderboard finish. Terrell Hatton, a minus 4.3 across 4 rounds. That's essentially field average, just slightly under. Sung Kang, a minus 9.3, much the same. If we sort on the 200 plus, got some cut making, nothing in terms of elite correlation. Middling from Tom Kim, a top 25. Eric Cole and Hideki, top 15, top 25, 2nd, 4th, 11th. But mainly it's the fact that the players that were up here at the top of the leaderboard were performing at least well. Maybe not elite. Some were elite, like Kevin Tway and Ryan Palmer. But they were at least performing well. In 2022, K.H. Lee's second win. Look at 200 plus. The top 5 players here, or at least those for tied for 5th, only one was negative. So it looks like to be a pretty big deal. It does. Looks like a pretty big deal. So our top performers this calendar year from 200 plus: Bobby Mack, Andrew Novak, Patrick Fishburne, Tom Hoagie, Thorbjorn Olesen, Kevin Yu, Keith Mitchell, Patton Kazire, Sammy Valimaki, Kevin Doherty, and Aaron Rye. Okay, we'll get this set for the par 3s. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think there's a lot here for the par 3s. There wasn't much in terms of the course breakdown, and even for the players who have played TPC Craig Ranch well in the 3 years, didn't appear to be a lot in the par 3s. Jason Day, a 2.1. I see a 4.1 from Carson Young. Yeah, I mean, you got 3 missed cuts pretty darn high up here in terms of par 3 performance. Nothing. I mean, our winner was pretty far down. You had to scroll for him. I don't see a whole lot here in the par 3s. I just don't. So I think if we look at 2022, let's take a look at that just really quickly. K.H. Lee, par 3s. Yeah, just a 1.2. Not a whole lot here. Miscut fairly high. Miscut fairly high. I don't see much here. So instead, let's take a look at par 4s. We're going to skip the par 3s. They might not be in the mixed condition model, to be honest with you. These par 4s are going to contribute some. 9, 11, 10. 11 a little bit further from Stefan Jaeger last year. Going to have to play him well. 2nd, 11th, 2nd, 1st, 8th, 5th, 5th. Top 15, top 20s. Going to have to play them well. If we look at a particular range, there's the top 18. Yeah, it is the 450 to 500. I mean, look there. You had 2 players that were, it's getting rounded to 0, but they were slightly negative. The only other one was -2 from Wierenski. Everybody else was positive in that range. And it looks like it's going to have the highest, 6, a 4, a 2, 5.5, maybe in the 400 to 450. But it's mostly in here in these 450 to 500 par 4s. Looking again here, Cage Lee didn't play the par 4s nearly as well. He plays the par 5s well. Munoz played them well, but again, it looks like it's majority in this 455. 5th, 8th, 12th, top 25s. A miscut from Sam Burns. Fairly high, but yeah. A lot in that 450 to 5. So, on par 4s, from 450 to 500 yards this calendar year, your top performers: Carl Yuan, Tom Hoagie, Max Grazerman, Eric Barnes, Mav McNeely, Adam Schenk, Jordan Spieth, Ches Reavie, Rafael Campos, Stefan Jaeger. We move to par 5s. Now, all 3 par 5s fall between 550 and 600. However, I did go through some research today, and they play them as short as less than 500 yards. You can see there's data in there. So it doesn't appear that we need to put all of our eggs in this basket like we did last night. That might have been an error on my part. 3.2, 3.4. Probably not looking at this range solo, but it looks like we're just looking at par 5s in general, because they do move the tees and pins around enough that they change lengths quite a bit. Of course, you gotta score well on those par 5s. Like KH Lee last year was good at them. He wasn't great at them, 50th, but 8th, 4th, 8th, 11th, 5th, 5th, 11th. Our winner a little bit lower in here. If we look at 2022, KH Lee really plays the par 5s well. 7.2, 6.2. He played them well in the first year that he won. Just first, second, 25th, 5th, 8th. I mean, a lot in here. Now, 2 years ago, it was the 550 to 6. But I'm thinking it's more just the par 5s because there's still data in all of these buckets. So our top par 5 performers in the field this week, this calendar year: Nick Dunlap, Bronson Burgoon, Minwoo Lee, Will Zalatoris, Doug Gim, Mackenzie Hughes, Thorbjorn Olesen, Bo Hostler, Kevin Tway, and Mark Hubbard. So there's a look at some of the data that looks like it's going to be pretty critical based on prior leaderboards. I'll bring us back to the strokes gained. Let's move to Microsoft Excel and let's really dig into TPC Craig Ranch. Let's get a feel for some numerical values here around TPC Craig Ranch. We're going to start with, per usual, the strokes gained of the 4 major shot types in golf. You see off the tee has gained in importance fairly significantly year over year here. Pretty darn solid, especially last year. More than doubled the around the green. The approach has been very, very steady. So again, contributing to this ball striking narrative of a course that we're looking at. The around the green number is slightly high, but I'm more focused on the ball strikers this week, especially off the tee. And then the putting, solid. Not great, but solid. So we'll have a little bit of putting in our mixed condition model, but we're looking at a lot of off the tee. I'm going to be overweight off the tee, I think, against other pundits, if I had to guess. We're looking at approach plenty as well. Moving into driving and greens. Like last year, distance mattered. KH Lee, the second year he won, it didn't matter at all. So very, very volatile statistic here. That's why I'm not terribly confident that I want to look at distance. Probably just more so looking at off the tee. If I am going to look at distance, it'll be 5% when rounds are easy. Now, the first year the TPC Craig Ranch was seen, fairways didn't matter much at all. Past couple of years, they've gained in importance. So maybe something to that. I don't feel comfortable because, again, this is pretty volatile like the driving distance. So I don't feel comfortable thinking fairways are much of a big deal. And then we've got a pretty big outlier in one of the years from the Byron Nelson on greens. So again, maybe 5%, but I don't think I want to put a whole lot into here. So maybe 5% in distance, but I'm more so just looking at off the tee in general. We move to scoring at TPC Craig Ranch. Birdies, birdies, birdies. 3.99. You look at somewhere like Colonial, the Charles Schwab, only a 2.8. So almost one more full shot more important. Memorial is more about the bogey avoidance. Let's try to find another easy tournament here. Mexico, fairly easy. It's only at a 2.8. Let's see. Puerto Rico, 3.06. And again, remember that Byron Nelson's at a 3.9. Essentially a 4. That's telling you just how important these birdies gained are. You look at John Deere, another place where it is very, very easy. It's only a 3.4. We're at a 4.0 here this week. Look at Rocket Mortgage, Detroit, 3.85. In fact, I think the 3.9 might indeed be the highest number. I'd have to go to this and see. Do we have a 4? No. So, the Byron Nelson is the course on the PGA Tour where birdies gained matters the most for our top finishers. And that's why we're going to put a whole lot of emphasis into birdies are better gained this week. It's just a huge deal. Give you a quick idea. Birdies gained 32% more important than the average full field course. Moving to par 3s. Look, it's only a 1.13. This is a pretty low number. Doesn't appear to be a particular range that matters the most. These two are pretty evenly split. So if I did anything with par 3s, it would just be total par 3s. But I actually don't think I'm going to do too much with them because they are 20% less important than the average full field course. Just don't see much there. Instead, we're going to go to the par 4s and the par 5s. Looking at par 4s, I don't think we want to ignore them because we do have one here and one that falls into this range as well. But 6 of the 11 fall to this range. So I think we're going to separate out this range, look at it by itself, and take a look at total par 4s as well. And you see they've increased in importance over the years as well. So probably looking at something like, again, just kind of spitballing numbers here, maybe 10% in the total par 4s and 5% in this range. Because the 400 and 450 do contribute quite a bit here. They do contribute quite a bit, and it's been pretty consistent. Whereas the 450 to 5 has been pretty darn volatile. So I don't want to overweight this. It would only be about 5%. And then the par 5s, look, we thought it was just about the 550 to 600 last night. Look, the 500 to 550 is just about as important. Just about as important. So we're just going to be looking at total par 5s, especially since they have played less than 500 yards the past couple of years, some. So we're just going to be looking at all par 5s. So there's a look at some very, very detailed data around TPC Craig Ranch. We'll move to the mixed condition model that I made last year, see how well it fared, how predictive it was, how good it was in terms of results-based mixed condition model. I strive for about 4 to 5 missed cuts in the top 20. Obviously, you want 0, but it is golf. Strange things happen. So last year's mixed condition model, at least in terms of results-based, I missed 4 players in my top 20 missed the cut. That's acceptable. I would accept that this year again. My winner was in the top, or the winner was in the top 20. Jason Day. He was fairly popular, but he was still there in the top 20, so giving myself a little bit of credit there. Siwoo, sub 10% Siwoo, runner-up, was also in my top 15, actually. Tom Kim, Scotty Scheffler. Again, I was talking about Ryan Palmer quite a bit last night. He top 10 last year at 10%. I would have to think he's going to be probably fairly popular, but again, somebody that I always target when conditions are very, very easy. So at least from a results-based mixed condition model, I would accept this. It's pretty solid. The winner was in the top 20. Only 4 missed cuts in the top 20. I would accept that. I would be pretty happy with that. So what did I look at? 20%. Birdies are better gained when it's easy. Well, makes a whole lot of sense. This is just a birdie fest. We just got through looking at the detailed data around TPC Craig Ranch and how birdies gained this is the course that birdies gained matters the most on the PGA Tour. We're going to look at birdies are better because eagles do happen here. So it makes a lot of sense, 20%. I had 15% strokes gained approach. I'd probably want to up that a little bit. But 15% strokes gained approach makes a lot of sense. 15% par 5s. Look, you just got to score on these par 5s. So far we're in agreement. 10% opportunities gained on long courses. Okay. You could always play with the filter, maybe make that easy, maybe make it long courses, but opportunities gained. Good drives gained, I don't think I agree with too much. We'll see how predictive it was last year. But I looked good drives gained. I had 5% in putting, and I didn't separate out a speed filter. I just looked at bent. I think that's incorrect. I think we need to look at average and fast. So that way we're not pulling in the lightning speed rounds. I think that's probably the best way to go about that. I did look at 5% greens on long courses. Okay. 5% total procs. Okay. I can understand that with these greens being so large. Total proximity would seem to make a little bit of sense. Only 5% and 200 plus. I think that's probably an error. I'd probably want to increase this a little bit. 5% on par 4s and 5% 450 to 500. So, okay, as I was mentioning, I was spitballing numbers saying 10% par 4s and 5% here, but very well could go 5% in each. We are separating out the 450 to 500, but only making it a minor part of all of the par 4s. One very big glaring omission that I see from last year's mixed condition model is off the tee. I didn't look at off the tee at all, so we're definitely going to have to incorporate some off the tee in here. So how predictive were these? Not the greatest. And TPC Craig Ranch has not been historically one of the more predictive courses on the PGA Tour. The best looks to have been the par 4s and the par 5s. Birdies are better gained, not great. Approach was middling. The opportunities was really bad. The lower the number, the better. Opportunities was pretty bad. Good drives gained was pretty bad. So I don't know how I feel about bringing in both of these into the mixed condition model for this year. I definitely don't agree with good drives gained. This needs to probably just be a strokes gained off the tee. I do like opportunities, but I definitely would not put it at 10%. Definitely need to look at 5%. And honestly, I'd probably look at easy relative to par instead of on long courses. Putting, not very predictive, so I think it's safe to say we are only going to look at 5% there. Greens was okay. Total procs was bad. 200 plus procs wasn't great. Par 4s were fine. And 450 to 500. Hey, good evening, C. Thanks for jumping in chat. Apologies if you were trying to watch a little earlier, was having some technical difficulties. I don't like tee to green per se. I understand that it is a very, very useful metric, but I'm more focused on just the ball striking because I don't think around the green is going to matter this week.
So I'm going to be focused solely on off the tee and approach, and that's why I don't look at tee to green. I don't suppose it could hurt if you want to look at that, but I'm just not factoring in any, and I mean any around the green in any capacity this week, and that's why I'm not incorporating tee to green. But thanks for jumping to chat. Good to see you this evening. 2 more things that we have to show for you. We're going to go back to this early look file that we looked at last night, but instead of filtering out the players who only had played it once, now that we know, or we have a strong feeling of what metrics and what skills play well at TPC Craig Ranch, let's figure out who has done the best at those metrics at TPC Craig Ranch in the 3 years. So, first thing we're going to look at is off the tee. A lot of players who have only played it once. You see Cam Champ, kind of his game is off the tee, but he's been very, very good off the tee here. But typical Cam Champ, he is not putt worth a damn. Ryan Palmer has been very good off the tee here. Johnny Vegas, 2 for 2, very good off the tee. Matthew Neesmith. Now Pearson Cootie has been horrendous at this tournament, but he's been good off the tee. He just hasn't done a damn thing else. Spieth's been good. Noren. K.H. Lee, although you see what he's done with the irons. Bramlett. Jaeger. James Hahn, who's now in the field thanks to a sponsor's invite. Somebody to maybe take a look at. Adam Scott, been pretty decent off the tee. So there's a look at your top off the tee players at TPC Craig Ranch. We look at approach. Definitely want to look at who has hit their approaches the best here. No surprise, 2-time champion K.H. Lee. Zalatoris has been pretty good. There's Jordan Spieth. Very good. Hubbard hit his irons immaculately here. Justin Lauer and Tom Kim. Hahn, Kazire. Look at Sean O'Hare. Average finish of 45th. It doesn't sound standout, I know, but he's hit his irons pretty darn well here. Love Lauer, yeah, I mean he's played okay here, just like Sean O'Hare. Average finish of 45th. He's been very good with his irons here. He will have to clean up some of this stuff, more so the off the tee, I think. But yeah, I think it's a worthy look in DFS. Don't know if I'd get there in one and done. I think there are some better options, but depending on what his odds are for maybe like a top 10 or a top 20, I definitely don't hate it. I don't know how far I'd have to go down to want to wager him, though, to win. In DFS, Peter Quest is going to be pretty chalky, I think, but I think it's a good play. He's been stellar at these easy courses. He's been stellar here. One time, I think he finished 5th or so. Rounding out the rest of this strokes gain approach, Spawn's been good with the irons here. Kuchar's been very good with the irons here, and he's had very good success. Nate Lashley, I believe you asked about last night. He's been okay here. Gim and Palmer. Riley. Vincent Norman finished 8th. A lot of the ball striking. Thinking about one and done. Yeah, you asked me that last night. I still like Ryan Palmer. Thinking he's going to be more unique than some of the other names that people are thinking or going to use. So I like Ryan Palmer. Tell you what, Adam Schenk popped a lot tonight too. In terms of like in the wind, on long courses. So Adam Schenk might be a name to think about as well. But I really like Ryan Palmer. Peter Quest, although I think he might be a little bit more chalky than you might think. But I think this is a week where I'm going to be off the beaten path. I'm not using any Zalatoris or Ben On or Minwoo Lee or anything like that. I'm going to try to find a unique one this week. Looking at putting, hearing that across the community, and Texas he does well. Which one are you referring to with that? Ryan Palmer. If it's Ryan Palmer you're referring to, it's because he's from Texas. No surprise there. Our top putters, Shank. Shank's from Indiana, but for whatever reason, he's been pretty good. I mean, average finish to 66. Like, he's 2 for 3 here, but he just, with the metrics, it lines up like he should play well here. So whether you want to put a bigger emphasis on like course history or like the analytics behind it. Our top putters, the 3 years at TPC Craig Ranch, you see everybody who's done it once. Like Adam Scott has putt great here. Gosh dang it. So definitely want to take a notice of that. And he's averaged a 20th place finish. Alex Noren has putt well here. Seamus Powers putt very well here. Kuchar, Bramlett. Bramlett's not a very good putter. So he's somebody to perhaps think about, especially if he gets on a course where he likes the putting. There's Adam Shank. Hostler a little bit less in terms of success. Garnett, 3 for 3 here. Our defending champion J-Day, always going to be pretty high in the putting. Hubbard. We're going to skip the driving and the greens. Let's just go to birdies gained, because that is, as we talked about, this is the course where birdies gained matters the most on the PGA Tour. Yeah, I don't like Nick Dunlap this week. He's been good with par 5s, but ever since his win, he's been in really, really bad form. I don't see it with Nick Dunlap this week. Our top birdies gained players, look again, Adam Scott, Jordan Spieth, there's Peter Quest, although it's only one time, but he's played well here. Alex Noren, Ryan Palmer, KH Lee, Stefan Jaeger, Bramlett, these guys who have continuously played TPC Craig Ranch well. Look at how well they're performing in these birdies gained. And that's why it's going to be, if not the most heavily weighted metric in the mixed condition model come Wednesday, it's going to be one of them. J-Day, our defending champion, even pretty high up here. Vincent Whaley, 3 for 3. Siwoo's 2 for 3. Seamus Power, 3 for 3. Birdies gained, just big facet. Big facet. Dunlap, yeah, I mean, maybe, but we'll be different on that, and if he plays well, you'll beat me in that regard. I'm just not willing to go there. I think there are better plays that I'm more confident in. Skip the par 3s. Gonna look at par 4s, par 5s, and then the 200 plus. So our top par 4 performers: Adam Scott again, there's a Spieth again, Jaeger and Day. Day's done it more in the par 4s. As you see, he is even on the par 5s, whereas two-time champion KH Lee has really taken advantage of the par 5s. But he's been okay at the par 4s as well. Kuchar, Seamus Power, and Joseph Bramlett. Here's your top par 4 performers. Par 5 and then 200 plus. And then we'll go to the research to finish off the show. Top par 5 performers: Vincent Norman, it's only one time, but then look, your two-time champion KH Lee. Spieth, who's played very well here. Ryan Palmer, who's played very well here, just demolishing these par 5s. Alex Noren. Snedeker and Lipsky, a little bit less in terms of success, but they've been very good at the par 5s here. Tom Kim, Adam Scott, Johnny Vegas, 2 for 2. Seamus Power, 3 for 3. So, big deal there. Lastly, for this section of the show, 200 plus. Who's been the best at TPC Craig Ranch from 200 plus? Harrison Endicott, 1 for 1. There's Zalatoris, Cameron Champ. Hadley has been very good from 200 plus, but you see the performance has been very bad, so there's something not lining up there. Lashley has been okay. There's Tom Kim again, Scott, Day, Jaeger. So 200 plus has not contributed to the elite success that, say, the par 5s, the par 4s, the birdies gained have. But I do think we're going to want to look at some 200 plus procs, considering 35% of the approach shots come from there. All right, let's
resort this on best average finish. I'm going to end off the show showing you a little bit of the research that went into what I posted. Oh gosh, wrong. I wanted the smallest to largest. Went into the research that I posted on social media. We'll do a couple of different things. First off, let's take a look at what I call the winner matrix, which is performance solely at TPC Craig Ranch leading up to a player's win. So TPC Craig Ranch originally seen in 2021, so no one had any performance there. Then Cage Lee backs it up with a win. Jason Day at least made the cut last year, but he did miss the cut the first time he played it and then wins. So not a whole lot of history here. Maybe if you wanted to, put a qualifier on somebody that they had to have made the cut last year. But I'm not going to put prior course performance very high this week in terms of my weight in the mixed condition model. This has been a pretty volatile course, and it's only been seen 3 years, so I'm not liking that. But I figured I would show you the winner matrix. But what I really want to show you in terms of the research is this winner form. The players, these are the tournaments that they had played leading up to their win at the Byron Nelson. The color coding here, I was looking at long courses and I was looking at easy courses. So anything in blue is a long course over 7,400 yards. Wells Fargo, Masters, Arnold Palmer, Farmers. See, J-Day had generally really, really good form. He had been playing really, really well last year anyway. But take a look at the form from KH Lee in 2022. He missed the cut at the Masters. He missed the cut at the Valero. He was fairly middling at the Arnold Palmer. So it wasn't a whole lot in terms of the performance on long courses. Much the same for him the first year. 58th, a miscut, and a miscut. So it's not long courses that these guys have been playing well leading into their win. What was it? It was when it's easy. And again, I put this note on social media, but to me, this is, just by my definition, an easy tournament is a tournament that has at least 2 rounds that were classified as easy per Fantasy National without a round that was difficult. So easy, average, 3 rounds of easy, 4 rounds of easy. That is what I classify as an easy tournament. You can disagree, but I'm just telling you what my definition is for why I'm highlighting these tournaments. I want you to take a look at the form of the winners on these easy tournaments. Jason Day, generally, very good form last year, but he top 20'd the only tournament that was easy leading into his win. KH Lee, he didn't have a whole lot of form, but look at 2 of his better finishes in 2022. The Century and the Sony. In his win in 2021, top 20 at the Sony. A second at Waste Management when it was really easy that year. So a lot of good form on easy tournaments or in easy tournaments leading into their win at the Byron Nelson. And not only that, the reason why I think I'm going to be using the easy relative to par filter instead of the long course filter for off the tee, look at the champion's performance off the tee at these easy tournaments. They have all gained strokes off the tee at these easy tournaments. And that's why I think it's going to be a pretty big deal this week with the off the tee. So I wasn't able to fit all of that in 140 characters, so I wanted to make sure I really brought that to our attention this evening, as that has been a big source, or that was a big source of who I eliminated and narrowed down in terms of players who fit that category or who fit the criteria this week. For your information, there have been several tournaments that have been classified as easy this year. So if you want to take a quick note of this, I'll try to type them up here as well. Going in chronological order, no surprise, the Century was easy. The Sony
was easy. The American Express, the Amex was easy this year as well. Pebble was actually classified as easy. It had 2 rounds of easy and 1 round of average. I know it was shortened, but based on what was played, it was considered easy. So Pebble Beach, Waste Management was easy this season. Mexico, Puerto Rico, the RBC Heritage, which was a signature event, so not a whole lot of players were there that are in the field this week, but you can always take a look. In the Corrales, those are the tournaments that have been classified as easy using that same definition. At least 2 rounds of easy and no round that's difficult. Those are the tournaments in 2024 that have been easy. So I'll let you get a snapshot of that. But that's why I really feel like the off the tee combined with the easy relative to par filter is what I'm going to be using, considering they all did very well off the tee at their easy tournaments leading into the Byron Nelson. But that is what I have for you all this evening. I apologize for the technical difficulties early on in the show. Hopefully that didn't bother you all too much, and I'll make sure I edit that out on YouTube. But thanks to C for jumping in chat. Thanks to everybody else out there who tunes in, watches, listens, supports the channel by liking the videos, commenting, and subscribing. I always appreciate it. Love what I do. Taking an in-depth look at sports statistics, trying to help us all win a little bit of money in the process. I will be live Wednesday night to finalize our lineups for the DFS Tactics show. Take a look at the up to the second forecast to see if there is a half of the draw that we want to favor or focus. Take a look at ownership projections and all of that, and of course my rankings for the Byron Nelson. So thanks again for all the support, for all the wagers you've made so far this week for the Byron Nelson, for all the wagers you're thinking about making this week for the Byron Nelson. And until I see you Wednesday night for the DFS Tactics show, may all your bets be profitable.